From Studio G and fighting for you from the Foxhole of Freedom, here we go into another brand new hour. Here's a warning for you, a trigger warning. The Steve Gruber Show often results in extended periods of American pride, American optimism, uncontrollable enthusiasm about America's future. Kicking off the live broadcast and Real America's Voice, MTN, and reaching a growing global audience, this is the Steve Gruber Show. Good to have you here. Three big things to know this hour. Number one, the United States and China have struck a deal on trade. It's a big deal. The market's already reflecting positively. The Dow's going to open up hundreds of points. Good news and a Trump win. Number two, Ukraine's President Zelenskyy says he will roll the dice and meet directly with Russian President Putin on Thursday at the urging of President Trump. Another major win is true. And number three, Democrats have played their hand. They care more about illegal aliens than you, than me, than the rule of law, than the interests of the country they were elected to serve. Pretty sad. We already knew that based on their staunch defense of Kilmar Abrego Garcia, or as they say on MSNBC and CNN, Kilmar Abrego Garcia. I don't know why they do that, but they do that. It's weird. The MS-13 gang member they painted as the so-called Maryland man, but they proved it yet again over the weekend. Yes, they did. You see, Democrat members of Congress got into a scuffle with ICE agents on Friday. And the arrest of the mayor of Newark, New Jersey, who was charged with trespassing at an ICE detention center that they rushed. The lawmakers were protesting the opening of the center. It was quite the riot. You can see Representative LaMonica McIver there in the red blazer, for those of you watching. She and several others, including New Jersey Representatives Bonnie Watson Coleman, Rob Menendez, along with Newark's Mayor Ross Baraka, all being accused of trespassing and worse, assaulting ICE officers on site. Homeland Security spokesperson Tricia McLaughlin says lawmakers should not be able to terrorize law enforcement on the taxpayer's dime. I agree. Here she is.
You know, there are some folks, speaking of getting arrested, there's some folks who said, you shouldn't be arresting the mayor of Newark. Wasn't there a way to sort of de-escalate this without having him arrested? What do you say about that? If it was a typical U.S. citizen and they tried to storm into a detention facility that's housing dangerous criminals or any person at all, they would be arrested. Just because you are a member of Congress or just because you are a public official does not mean you are above the law. We will continue. If you assault a law enforcement officer, we will also make sure you answer to justice. So I think that arrests are still on the table for this. This is an ongoing investigation.
Baraka released after being arrested Friday for trespassing, but like McLaughlin said, we could see the other lawmakers involved be taken into custody shortly. And just what was Mayor Baraka's response? Deny, deflect, and repeat. Here he is.
Nobody stormed the place. The only storming happened is when, that we all know, when those guys stormed the Capitol and was arrested for what they did and were released.
Yeah, there you have it. It's the only card these guys have. Baraka says that his fight has to do with fighting for due process and detention standards. Well, here's the border czar Tom Homan and his response. Listen.
Well, look, he's not very smart. I mean, bottom line is, that's what the facility's all about. This facility's about due process. This facility is where we put illegal aliens, people in the country illegally, first of all. If you're in the country illegally, they're being detained. And they were screaming and yelling about due process and 14 and all this in the Constitution. This is where due process happens. We have to detain them to go through the due process of, sometimes seeing a judge, sometimes they already have final orders. It's ranging removal to their countries, they're getting travel docs to their countries and making sure all the administrative processes are followed. So this is exactly what the facility means. And I'll tell you this, I can guarantee you this facility has higher detention standards than any New Jersey facility. This facility has highest detention standards in the industry. You compare that to any jail in New Jersey, and you'd be shocked how high these detention standards are.
Now, these rioters stormed the facility as a bus of detainees was entering the grounds. They put themselves, the officers, and those illegals at risk of something bad happening because of their behavior. And they're setting an example for their supporters, of course, to make a riot over the law being enforced. Also over the weekend, a neighborhood in Massachusetts up in arms as neighbors made a scene over an illegal migrant woman's arrest, endangering the officers and their own neighborhood there. 2 people were arrested in the scuffle, including a woman who stood in front of an ICE vehicle with her baby in tow and proceeded to kick the vehicle. She's been charged with child endangerment. Seems accurate. These people are nuts, but their behavior is being validated by elected officials just like the ones we discussed. You know what President Trump is doing in the meantime? Nothing but good for the American people, specifically right now for homeless veterans. That's right, President Trump signed an executive order to create the National Center for Warrior Independence in Los Angeles, focused on helping homeless veterans get back on their feet. The idea is to offer a one-stop place for housing, health care, job training, and addiction recovery, all aimed at helping vets become independent again. Promises made, promises kept. Here was Trump on the campaign trail. Listen.
Under Kamala Harris, American veterans are treated worse by far than illegal aliens. Illegal aliens are treated. You ever see them? They stay in hotels. We have veterans sleeping on the street, and inside luxury hotels you have people that came into our country, many from prisons, many from mental institutions, many terrorists, and they are treated better than our veterans. They don't care about our veterans. As borders are, Kamala has spent over $1 billion of taxpayer money to house illegal aliens and foreign migrants in some of the most expensive housing and hotels anywhere in the country. Meanwhile, more than 41,000 homeless American veterans are living in squalor on our streets. I mean, I hope you people are going to remember this because it's terrible.
Yeah, they're going to remember. Trump didn't forget. He didn't forget about the promises, the priorities he was going to honor when he was elected again in November, all while he's tackling massive issues at home and abroad. Lots of big-ticket items on the agenda this week. President Trump is heading to the Middle East, Saudi Arabia, UAE, and Qatar to lock in some massive investments for America's infrastructure, AI, and energy. He's bringing home the bacon like nobody else can. Last time he crushed it with the Abraham Accords, getting Israel and Arab nations to shake hands in 2020. And this term, he's already secured a ceasefire with the Houthis, keeping those Red Sea lanes open and safe. Now, we'll talk about the Peace for Strength initiative coming up here in a minute, but there is a bit of an issue as he heads overseas, and that is the concern over a jet that's been offered him by the royal family of Qatar, a $400 million gift, a $400 million gift. We'll talk about that. Should he get a 747-8 that's coming to the United States that's going to be then transferred to the Trump library? I've got a poll up on it on X. I encourage you to go look. Please do. But before I get to that, some things are worth being bold about. If you're tired of weak, mass-produced coffee, it's time to revolt. 1775 Coffee delivers single-origin, high-altitude, hand-picked perfection. Bold, dark roast, smooth, medium. Even a Vitality mushroom blend for unstoppable focus. It really is cool. No corporate virtue signaling, no watered-down nonsense, just premium 85-plus cupping score coffee. 85-plus cupping score. Yeah, that's right. It's great coffee. Fuels warriors, patriots, and people who stand for something like me and like you. Go to 1775 Coffee. 1775coffee.com. Use the promo code Gruber. You'll save 10%. And remember, every dollar you spend enters you to win a Tesla Cybertruck and $30,000 in cash. 1775 Coffee. Bold, strong, uncompromising. Yeah, you're going to be pleased you found this right here. All right, we'll take a break. We'll come back. We'll continue with the conversation about what's happening this week in the White House, in the world, in America. It's the Steve Gruber Show. All right, so back to it now. As Trump heads to the Middle East, a lot to accomplish there. By the way, I go back to the 747-8, the palace in the sky being offered apparently to the United States by the nation of Qatar and its royal family. $400 million gift. Good idea or bad idea? I'm doing a poll right now on X. And for the first time, I'm not seeing President Trump do very well here. Overall, 45% think it's a bad idea or potentially corrupt. Only 32% think it's a good idea. Where do you come down? Weigh in. Go to my account on X, follow, and get involved with the conversation. Now, the Saudi Crown Prince has already promised an investment of $600 billion in the United States, and Trump says he plans on scoring even more deals. I tend to believe him. When these are just a handful of the latest investments in the United States, to the tune of $60 billion, and there's more to come. But first this, back to the big investments in America. Big players like Gilead, Infinite Energy, Merck, Lego, Hot Pack, Bristol Myers Squibb pouring serious cash into the country. Pharma company Gilead dropping $11 billion to build 3 new facilities and upgrade 3 others, aiming to create 800 direct jobs and 2,200 indirect jobs by 2028. Also on the pharma front, Merck's investing $1 billion in a new Delaware plant to ramp up domestic drug production, responding to tariff pressures. Bristol Myers Squibb committing $40 billion over 5 years, zeroing in on radiopharmaceuticals and AI-driven drug development. Now wait, big pharma equals bad, right? Well, we'll always need pharmaceuticals in a modern society, but at least now they're being manufactured in America, not in China, our known enemy. And the good news is this: Donald Trump is about to sign an executive order that will bring the cost of prescription drugs down. It has the Democrats scrambling, not remembering what to do next. They are scared because Donald Trump's taking card after card out of their play deck and playing it himself. And remember what I said about promises made and promises kept. How about Donald Trump just last month? Here is what he said. Listen.
But we're going to tariff our pharmaceuticals, and once we do that, they're going to come rushing back into our country because we're the big market. The advantage we have over everybody is that we're the big market. So we're going to be announcing very shortly a major tariff on pharmaceuticals, and when they hear that, they will leave China, they will leave other places because they have to sell. Most of their product is sold here.
It's almost like he knows what he's doing, because that's what happened. Additionally, Invenergy is investing a massive $7 billion clean energy push, including wind and solar projects with a focus on sustainable power across states like Illinois. Hot Pack's expanding with a $50 million facility in Texas, creating 200 jobs for eco-friendly packaging. This is how clean energy is supposed to work. You get these companies to invest in the United States, not use taxpayer dollars to force or subsidize companies into your woke green agenda. These moves show that companies are betting big on U.S. growth during huge global trade shifts. This after Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent wrapped up trade talks with China and Geneva, Switzerland over the weekend. And with good news, dropping tariffs from 145% to 30%. China dropping its tariffs to 10%. All good news. The market very happy. Even before the talks began, President Trump wrote on Truth Social he was considering lowering tariffs to 80%, down from 145 if we could get a deal. It went far better than he thought, and he left it up to Bessent to make the call, which he did. Now, while the skeptics continue to panic about the tariffs' effect on the global market and our economy here at home, Trump's cool as a cucumber. He's winning. Listen.
What parameters have you given Scott Bessent on negotiating with China this weekend?
We have to make a great deal for America.
Are you going to be disappointed if he comes back without a deal?
No, not at all, because we already made a great deal. We're not doing business with China right now.
Given your relationship,
You know, we lost $1 trillion last year with China, $1 trillion. So if you're not going to do business with them, you're not going to lose $1 trillion. But we lost. I want China to do great. You know, I'm very friendly with President Xi. I have great respect for him and for China, but we can't continue to allow them to do what they did.
Yeah, and apparently that has worked out. We'll have more on that coming up in the program. Trump continues to deliver win after win, week after week, all for Americans. All Americans, whether they voted for him or not. So the constant whine and panic from his critics is that's background noise to him. Doesn't seem too worried. He's got the gold standard cabinet because while all of this was going down, his top negotiators like Secretary of State Marco Rubio, they secured a ceasefire deal between India and Pakistan, 2 countries that have nuclear weapons, right? Some cross-border shelling has continued despite the ceasefire, but it's already cooling down as we speak, better than it was. Can you imagine if Kamala Harris was in the White House right now, or her former boss, Sleepy Joe? There'd be no ceasefire, no path to peace. More likely there'd be billions of U.S. dollars bleeding out to sustain the fighting. How do I know? Because the war in Gaza reached its fever pitch under Joe Biden. The war in Russia and Ukraine dragged on during his entire presidency. And what did we do? Sent billions of dollars. But under the Trump administration, all it took was a weekend of negotiating. No boots on the ground, no money sent overseas. I'll chalk that up as a win. And if you'd like some more good news to start your Monday off, inflation is cooling. The consumer price index dropping to 2.4%, down from 2.8%. Gas prices are down. I saw several stations in the $2.80 range near my home over the weekend. The national average down to $3.12. The relief at the pump easing price pressures for all consumers. Yeah. It's a good week to be an American, at least for those of us who love our country and want to see it succeed. So while Trump delivers win after win, the Democrats can continue making fools of themselves. Speaking of, you've heard it before, we were back listening to this again over the weekend, Ivy and I were. Capitalism is evil. Capitalism is freedom. Wait, what is capitalism? It's a good question. Everyone's talking about it. Shouldn't you at least understand it? That's where Hillsdale College comes in. They're offering a brand new free online course, Understanding Capitalism. It's great. We were back listening to it again over the weekend. In just 7 fascinating lectures, you'll dive into profit and loss, human nature, freedom, why capitalism isn't a system of greed, it's a system of morality and liberty. That's just one of the over 40 free online courses you can find at Hillsdale. No tuition, my friends, no strings. If you go there right now, you're going to love what you find. It's one after another. If you can binge watch on Netflix, you can binge watch this and learn a hell of a lot more. Gruber for Hillsdale.com, trust me. Easy to enroll, it's free, and it's ready when you are. Gruber for Hillsdale.com, Gruber, Gruber for Hillsdale.com. It was good fun. We did that on the way back and forth to picking morale mushrooms. Yeah, we scored big. Finally, we got it done. It's the Steve Gruber Show. Good to see you. We'll be right back.